Now, as I like to say, one of my favorite parts of the evening is to brag on somebody in public. And I will not tell them about the pool party, the dolphin, or the 500-pound turtle. Those are out. The pink birthday cake is all. You don't mind to mention that, right? Gosh. Kathleen Linder is our feature of the evening. Give her a nice round of applause right now before we get started here. She's the author of 2 poetry collections, I Will Not Kick My Friends. Very good. I mean, that's like an elementary school book. They could don't kick your friends. Use your words. The winner of the 2017 Elixir Poetry Prize and Nostalgia for the Criminal Past, which received the 2013 Texas Institute of Letters First Book Award. She was granted fellowships, has been to the Vermont Studio Center, won the 2014 Michelle Ratner Memorial Award, judged by Brenda Hillman, and the 2016 Poetry Society of America Emily Dickinson Award. She teaches at Sonoma State. They're still there, right? They haven't gotten rid of you?
Not yet.
Okay. How long have you been there?
Not long.
Oh, so you're new. All right. Well, she has books. Did you bring books with you?
Yes.
Oh, so there are books here that you can talk to her about, talk with her about. Thank you, my grammar is falling out of my mouth. But she has an interesting voice. I looked up some clips, and I like the style. It's fun, it's interesting, and there's the way she connects phrases and words was fascinating to me. So, give her a big round of applause as she comes up here. Kathleen Winter, ladies and gentlemen, in the house, as I like to say, because where else would she be? Oh, thank you, David, for taking care of that. And
I'm short. Very short.
but powerful.
But powerful, indeed.
Do not get on this person's bad side because regrets, you know.
So thank you so much to Dan and to everybody. It's been great to hear your words and your songs, and I'm excited to read with my friend David Beckman, who I drove down with. We both live up in Sonoma County.
Oh, just get really close to the mic.
I'll get really close. How's that?
That's been much
Okay.
better. Much
Now we're
better.
talking.
So let's see. Could I make it go down a teeny tiny?
Oh, yeah. You can.
The problem with the mic is the way it's faced to you is the way it'll get best response. If you tilt it, we won't hear you
Okay.
as well.
How's that? That's good? Oh, okay.
Yeah, there we go. Now
All
we're
right.
kicking.
All right.
As my mom would say.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you guys some poems from I Will Not Kick My Friends, which came out last month, so it's new. So I'm not too sick of it yet, which is great. So a lot of the poems in here are about art museums, art, other writings, that kind of thing, which gets me interested and makes me feel like writing. And since this is San Francisco, I'm going to read some poems that were inspired by San Francisco art museums and a few other places like that. And this first one, there's a art gallery in Napa called the Hess Collection. Has anybody been there? It's next to a winery, but it's a public art museum. But it's small, so you can walk all around, see everything in there in about an hour and a half, which I love, because then you're not exhausted. So it's also, I would say, a poem about artistic frustration. So if you've ever experienced artistic frustration, this may be a poem for you. Explanation. So long, so be it long and vague, even dazzling in its vagueness. The face of a cliff disintegrating, face of a faux cliff, art cliff, white cliff of Dover stone, made by an artist collective, hung on a winery gallery. High on the wall, all the way to low on the wall of the high-ceilinged gallery, white Leviathan of fabrication, cliff face of polyurethane and paint appearing to disintegrate, like the figure's face in Bacon's painting upstairs in the gallery, vicious blur in an armchair. No, you cannot drink here. I would go on, but the alarm does not allow. I would to what she said about not dazzling. The dazzling implying light and crystalline, implying blinding, bowed to, valorized. In the carnivorous expanse of Jim Show, an infinitude of teeth so long, a shining of prismatic knives, new, hard, sharp, vertical. But the alarm, so be it. I can't rise beyond the second floor, where Bacon's bloated figure sits and swings his polychrome disintegrating face from side to side so fast the features blur. Or else his head spins on a pole of neck, so quick the features smear and drip, becoming faceless, vague. You try to console me, dazzling as tinsel. But in my mind I see the grainy black and white of Tesla under his transformer's flaming wings, dazzling, radiant, vague. That's really sweet of you guys, but I'm going to read for a while, and so if you could maybe just give me a really robust good night after I finish.
We will hold our applause.
Yeah, please hold your applause.
No matter how well you read.
No matter how amazing. Because then I'll just imagine that every poem you love, and that there's like this amazing silent affirmation. But who knows what really is going on. But okay, so this poem, this is one that was inspired by the Museum of the Legion of Honor. So I suppose some of you have been there, right? Anybody been there?
Yes.
I had figured as much. Okay, so here we go. See if you recognize any artworks or whatnot. It's called The Grammar of Ornament. We shed slickers at the entrance before woodcuts of peasants, bare-breasted. In the downstairs hall, Rome's muscle glows on the torsos. Tonight, the adults will dream about sex, and the children about ice cream. Take a ride at the sarcophagus. Carnivorous 18th century, your still life of rabbit and pheasant is titled the pate. The museum freed a grand chandelier from a duchess. Rock crystal fissures glimmer in electric light, but imagine with candles. You're a servant, flaming dishes and wicks, soot snowing dusk upon London. This saint's feet are painted to extremes. Each toe has its own personality. Between twin arcs of staircase, aluminum arrows on leaf from Piccadilly streaks. He flings a leg back toward Empire, balances his washboard core over an ankle. Outside, gilded frames, typed cards remark dates and makers, buying habits of the British middle class. Ornaments of grapevine and orb, peacock feather fan, sterling teapot shaped like an udder. What middle class could afford this grammar? The mummy's self-satisfied smile. So that's the first of two. There's another one I'm going to read in just a minute that's also a Museum of the Legion of Honor. There's nothing like a museum, right, to just get you wanting to write. So this is the Philadelphia Art Museum, and when I was there was a great retrospective by Frida Kahlo that was visiting, and so there's a painting of hers that shows up in here. And this is called Inevitable Colonials. The husband as Colossus, menacing and dull, a sigh in everything she says. Change your chicken, cries a sign, the March air glowering, a chill above the river over boathouses. The gravedigger's ball goes on as a banner going on a metal fence in Philadelphia, across from the Museum of Rocks, the most practical form of jewelry. Take the rock he gave her, talking rock. It said, like the little triangular sign stuck into a lemon in Frida Kahlo's visiting still life, I belong to a dentist, menacing and dull, with teeth on his shingle, teeth on the shutters of his colonial. It said, we have the luxury of eating thoughtlessly. It said, "You cannot touch or even ask me for the time of day or direction out of where a parkway of thin trees can't hide the view of the highway. The road to their facility, speed limit 27, gated entry, identical windows, rhododendron. The only change, a change of chicken. The only hazards on the heart's clipped courses." Golf. There you go. So golf doesn't show up in my poems very much. That may be the only golf poem I ever write. So here's the other Museum of the Legion of Honor poem. It's called "In the Museum of the Legion of Honor." These marble busts of famous men are starting to look younger. You're a dancer, struggling to get centered. Are you middle class, middle brow, middle aged? Is noon truly the center of the day? Doesn't it all always change? Light to welter to heavyweight? Mean or median, what does it matter if the center isn't fixed? Alteration is one way to make things fit. To paint my portrait, I'll translate myself to water, not a body, but a medium, a state, a shimmer. I'm in the corner of your eyes, fleeting, fluid, nameless shape, a glimmer, libertine, a floater, instance of the universal rain. And then you guys are in the mood for a weird one, right?
Yeah.
I can see it in your eyes. Okay, so this one was inspired by listening to a landscape painter talk about her paintings, and her name is Susanna Coffey, and what she said was, "We're in the world and it's bigger than we are. This is why landscapes tend to be small." So the poem is called "Letter from Iceland." I'm literal in the shadow box sense of the parlance, diffuse and ruinous bliss. I'm empress of laxness. I don't want to have complex ideas about flowers. Say you miss me blue times and I'll mail you a sketch of a moth who resembles a frog, who resembles men on their backs, thumbs and forefingers wringing great toes. To a pale beetle crawling, my breast is the landscape, relentlessly morphing. My fingers, God machines, promised long by the sagas. All day we remake the terrain with eyes closed after staring at the sun. Circles flame, circumferences are green. I paint pines as hair, flocking God's granite skull, and the sea as his brainwaves, pretending again to be human. I work toward a small relation to the trees. So the book is in 4 sections, and the last section that I've been reading from is mostly visual art and art spaces, and then the first section is a lot about film. And I loved the Tarkovsky poem earlier tonight, because Tarkovsky's pretty much my favorite filmmaker, and so that was wonderful to hear. And so I'm going to read you a couple of the film-inspired poems. They are, I don't know, they're all different in mood and style. That's one of my challenges as a poet, because right now the trend is sort of to have these books that are really cohesive and all sort of about one thing or one style, and mine are all over the map. But a couple of these movie connected poems. So the first one is about a little town in Texas, and it's called Screenplay for a Homemade Movie. My cousin and his wife married their next door neighbors. This is as romantic as Pleasanton gets. First each other, then after 8 years, a couple of divorces. Like bowling alley mechanics, after the smashes, everything's set up again. Same houses, different spouses. For a while I was awkward at the grocery, at the hardware store, but my cousin's wife is happier now. She's a whole different person. Pleasanton's Fest had hives about the hanky-panky, but after the neighbors remarried, the town forgot the starting lineup, gave its blessing to 2 sets of newlyweds. My cousin's next-door neighbor's wife is happier now. She hears my cousin only if 2 windows are open, and the ravens pause in bringing on the triumph of their small, shrill song. True story. Not much of my poetry is true story, but and then this one is it's a found poem. So a lot of poets in the room, so you know what a found poem is. But it's in this case, I took one of Arthur Rimbaud's poems called Bad Blood, and I used all the words, but I just made a totally different poem out of it.
Mhm.
And my poem is a movie review of a horror film. So that's what this is. And it's called Bad Blood 2, a review. Literally a horror. I've known clumsiness and flayers and scorchers, but theirs I find barbarous ineptitude, a sacrilege to the trade. All hands liars, sons of good families, but in fighting, lazier than the toad. The master criminal's blue-white hair and Gallic domesticity, their idolatry, sickens me. I don't care. Narrow skulls, disgusting clothes, what beasts. Honestly, families like that owe everything to lust. Magnanimous plow, using the body for a living, butter on the tongue. But oh, my pen is intact. Perfidious indolence is grass. Only a base age of beggars, like my own, could declare this castration magnificent. I never shall. And then,
You know, I noticed that you included my little introduction as part of your 20 minutes, but it doesn't. So actually, you have you have whatever's on there plus a minute.
well, thank you. So I'll read 2 more. I'll read 2 more.
I just want to let you know you had. Yeah, I noticed that. And I
Very
didn't want to
kind. So,
let it go.
so I'm gonna read a couple from different sections. So the second section of the book has all these poems that were inspired by reading other writers, you know, as we all are. We're inspired by other people who are doing creative things and make us feel jazzed and want to do creative stuff, right? So that section of the book has an epigraph from a poem by Brenda Hillman, and she wrote, "The imagined comes from the imagined." And I just love that. I think that's so beautiful, and at least true to my practice, is that that's where I go a lot of times to be inspired. It's by other people's creative work, like being here tonight, hearing all of you. So the first poem in this section, it's another weird one, but it was inspired by reading about Sylvia Plath and Ted Hughes. Sylvia Plath is one of my favorite poets, and Ted Hughes is not bad either. He's a pretty darn good poet. So this is a kind of a hodgepodge of stuff about their breakup, and then it has a lot of different kinds of lettuce in there too. So it's called Glamour. Too fast, black car, too fast to be replaced by one so much more beautiful. Of course it killed her. What you get for trying to be a cupcake. Let sparrows harry the raptor. Let murderess dip her blade of grass in perfume. Every twisting strand of hair a rope could save or hang you. We have some things to work on mentally. Of course, a phrase we usually won't need. Clearly, generally, iceberg lettuce of the language. Broadway star hawked coffee in recovery. Of course, in general, coffee makes you pretty. Meet me at the Church of the Immaculate Virgin, corner of Beaver and Cherry. Too fast, black car. Flagstaff, I told you so. If you're rich, you don't have to be friendly. Is anything better now? At the time she died, even the literati thought arugula was a weed. And then this last one, short one, it's based on Hamlet, so you're going to hear Ophelia echoing in here, I hope. I hope you will. And I just want to thank you so much for the chance to read here with you all. It's awfully nice. It's a good vibe here, as I'm sure you know. So this poem,
Oh, yeah,
That's-
you're good.
short one.
Yeah.
Okay,
you're good.
this, I swear it's short. This one's called Rosemary, Pansies, Fennel, Columbines, and meanwhile, birds are singing in their Greek. Trees stir and chirrup the darker veins through budding leaves like maps of the roots of medicines or poison. I am not insane, yet I am out of breath, waiting for him to be out of breath, waiting for the curtain, the rupture, tactile fact. To be compelled into acceptance, prone among blossoms, carried by water warm as a body, away but not drowning, mixed with lace spangle of light on the leaves and the river, one with a scatter of flowers, not drowning, not dying, but entrained, a sleeper who knows she is flying and does not question.
All right, we're going to take a break for about 5 to 7+ minutes there.
Like this?
Yes, that.